Welcome back to Duckman Cycles VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. We're back today with my 1956 Beetle, also known as Eleanor, who unfortunately met her demise about 12 years ago when she was sunken under 6 feet of seawater during Hurricane Ivan. She broke in the middle, she was completely destroyed when I got her, and I did the best I could to rebuild her. And that's what you see now. So anyways, I've been working on this project. As you know, we got a car show coming up on Saturday, and it's time that I put the body back on that chassis. That's right, this is a body reloading video. So you're going to want to watch through this video, and possibly the whole thing. You may even learn something. And if you don't, well, I'm sorry I led you astray, but that's what we're going to be doing today, so I really appreciate that you like, comment, subscribe, pluck that little dingle belly down there, for that way you get updates every time I upload a new video. And don't forget to check out Duckman Cycles VW Garage on the Facebook group page. There'll be a discussion on what we're doing here, as well as some of the other things that I do. And if you've been watching, you also know that there's an engine in the car now. But the engine was a complete flop. More on that later. Maybe the video's already been uploaded. I really don't know by the time that this gets edited and uploaded too. But it's currently Thursday. Still trying to get this car done for the car show. And one of the next important steps is to put that body back on that chassis. So here we go. Rolling intro. I've currently got the chassis up underneath the body right now, and I don't think I have to remove a whole lot off the body except for, well, the doors, because the doors are going to make it very front heavy, so I got to pull them doors off. It's about 6 screws on each side. Once I get those pulled off of there, I'll lay the doors on the side, and then we'll take my cherry picker over here with a custom wooden beam that I made and go between the doors right in front of the B-pillars, and that's approximately the balance point of the car. Lift it up, roll the chassis underneath it, and well, lower it back down, start putting some bolts around it. Yes, normally I would put a rubber gasket on here around the chassis, but unfortunately this is only going to a car show, so it's going to come right back off the next day. Yeah, this body is just going to be plugged on here very, very temporarily. And some people have come down on me, you know, well, why are you doing everything so temporarily? Well, you got to watch the videos. I mean, I keep saying that I'm going to a car show. I mean, the car is very far from done. I'm trying to win a trophy just for the in-progress status of this car. And it's much, much way ahead of where it was last year. The only big gotcha is most of the way ahead stuff is in the chassis, particularly in the rear, you know, with the engine and the transmission and all the rear suspension. And yeah, that was a ton of work. And of course, the Porsche brakes, both front and rear, are on here as well. As far as the body is concerned, I really did a lot of micro welding, very, very small areas where there was seams and things that were open or unfinished that I just didn't get around to, that finally are done now. And I still need to do some more work on that passenger door, and there's a lot more to do on the inside of both doors, as well as the rust area around the windows. But enough babble. It's time that we take this cherry picker and get that body loaded. Now this is a pretty quick operation. You get the cherry picker up inside. Now, some people wanted to see this more closely, but it's just a 4x4. And actually I like to stack 2x4s better, because if there's a flaw in this 4x4, it might split and break. But if there's two 2x4s and one of them has a flaw, you're less likely to snap them both. Two 1x4s down there, and there's actually a bolt sticking through the bottom of the I said 1x4s, they're actually 2x4s. There's a bolt in the middle of one of them that comes up through and not through the second one. The second one is actually a retainer, I guess you could say. It stops the bolt from going all the way through. So anyway, the hole is only through this guy, and the bolt sticks down into the top of the cherry picker. There's actually just a hole drilled right on top of it. Real simple operation here. You just get up inside the B-pillars, both sides. Once you've gotten that far, and it's just a matter of giving this a pump, and up she goes. I'm going to set up the camcorder on the other side so you guys can watch. And hopefully I don't drop the car. ran into a little gotcha. Let me show you. This didn't occur to me before, but right up under here, you can see the 6-point Caffer bar, and it is hitting the body right here. This hole is where that bolt is supposed to go through, but because I put the Caffer bar onto the floor pan before I dropped the body on, the bolt didn't go through there. So there's going to have to be one of two things going to happen. I'm either going to have to take the Caffer bar apart, or I'm going to have to cut a little piece out of the body back here to make it all fit properly. And judging by how everything is shaped under here, and by the fact that I like to lift the body off without having it hung up on anything, I think the option I'm going to choose is going to be take a chunk out of the body. I don't see any reason why that would be a bad idea. Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to do under here. I'm going to lift it back up just enough so I can get under there with a angle grinder, and we're going to notch the body. Otherwise, the body's actually on the pan. Okay, here it is, same area on the other side. The shock bolt's right here, and that's what this little window is for. That's to access the shock bolt. This body is very topsy-turvy right now, so I gotta be very, very careful with what I'm doing. I might even go ahead and prop it up in a few places with some jack stands just to be sure what I'm doing. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut right through here and right through here. And I don't think that's gonna affect the body rigidity too much because I'm still gonna leave this curve through here. And I think that's where most of the strength comes from. Yeah, for whatever I take away, I'll add something back. So once I pull the body back off after the car show and I finish up my modifications and finalize everything, I'll add something back through here, because beyond the shock towers, nothing supports the body. The body is actually hanging from itself, so it might cause the back end to be a little wobbly. Yeah, so we'll get that right. We're going to make it right. Just right now, we need to make it fit, and the only way it's going to fit is if we take away some metal. So let's go ahead and do that. Yep, there we go. Almost looks stock. Here's the piece that I cut out. Okay, gotta do the same thing on the other side. And there's the cut on the other side. There's a piece that came through here. It fell down under the car, and because everything is just so topsy-turvy, I am not sticking my head under there to go reach for that part. So wherever it fell, it can stay until I get the chassis moved. Let's go ahead and drop this body back down, and I think everything will fit at this point. But I guess we'll see. Turns out that the rear shock towers, which I built the back ends on, the back sides of when I did the Porsche 944 suspension, narrowed the width between the shock towers where the body normally sits in between them. And usually it's a really tight and snug fit. Now the body just doesn't want to drop in there. So what I'm trying to do is trying to use a rod and trying to pound the spot of the body, since it's just sheet metal, in a little bit, so that way the body will then fall down between the two shock towers. So let's keep on doing it. Nope, that's not getting it. We're gonna have to cut a little notch in the area of the body that squeezes down between the two shock towers. Not a big deal. We'll go ahead and put the lift back under there, lift it up a few inches, and just knock a little piece out. Okay, this is the piece here that normally I've discovered whenever I drop a Beetle body back onto its pan, it doesn't want to fit between the shock towers, and usually you got to wiggle it back and forth, and then it slides right in. And they're pretty tight tolerances, and it didn't occur to me that when I reinforced the back of the shock tower by welding onto the back here, that I decreased the width between the shock towers, so the body actually needs to compensate for it up here. So what I'm going to do, and this is part of building anything custom, you guys, sometimes you just got to cut something out of the way and put something else in a different place, and that's what we're going to have to do. But what I'm going to do here is just cut up under here, right underneath the shock tower body mount, and across. So it'll be just a little triangular wedge cut out. And when I pull the body back off, as I did say before, I'll get under here and I'll reinforce it somehow, some way, and just make it better than what it is. Back under here, there's a lot of donor parts. A lot of donor parts. It's not all original oval. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. Alright, she's back on her chassis. Everything is on there. You see a little bit of a light gap underneath the heater channel there, and that's because the floor pan's actually bent. It's from climbing in and out of it, sitting on the seat that was in there without bolting it on. So I'll have to bend that back up. Usually the best way to get that back up is with a floor jack. Just lift the pan up with the floor jack and then put your bolts in, and that puts everything back the way it belongs. Chassis does look a little bit high. That's because I have the air shocks in the front full, and I have the rear suspension currently maxed out to max height. That's probably even higher than I would have for cruising height, and that's about how high it went to the show last year. But because everything is adjustable on the rear now, all I have to do is turn 2 screws. I'm not going to deal with that tonight, of course. It's actually going to start getting dark soon, and I have a Volkswagen club meeting tonight. So we got to put those doors back on right now is really what we need to do. I also got the steering column assembled. That's right, so now the car steers. That's something that it never did in the time that I had it. Even when I first came home, I turned the steering wheel, it spun on the shaft because it was messed up. You know, that's why I cut the end of it off and replaced it. Looking down inside here, everything looks good. These are my air shock hoses. I'm going to route these up and over. They'll come out through one of the body holes in the trunk here. And I put the spare tire in just as a ballast. It helped me to drop the front end down when I had it up on the lift. But that can come out now. There it is. And that center body hole right there, that's where I'll put the air shock hoses through. I got to put my 2 little round covers back on also for the show. I see my little VIN numbers are going to stay there. There's a magnet holding one of them in. I'm probably going to take that out and put it inside my Nissan when I drag it over, just so it doesn't get lost. I didn't get to finish this trunk, but I am going to tack on the front apron and just get it held on in place, so that way it has some level of completion. But looking down inside of here, man, of course this is an area that you're never really going to see because the gas tank's going to cover it. But I think at the show, I'm going to have to lift the tank and pull it out of the way. I'm going to have to come up with some way to make that happen and make it custom. I mean, it just looks so nice under there. The blue master cylinder, all the stainless steel brake lines, chrome tie rods. I should really polish the rest of the steering shaft. But that's not high on the list right now. I got to rebuild the whole front end this winter anyway, so when I get that all painted meticulously, I'll do something with the steering shaft. I'll probably replace the shaft entirely. The later model ones are actually better. In case you do wind up in an accident, they collapse. These suckers here are more like a javelin, and they have a tendency to go right through your chest. And I don't much like the idea of dying in my little Volkswagen. I really don't like the idea of it getting crashed at all, especially after how much work I put into it, but that's another story. Well, we got to put this thing back together. It's a matter of a lot of bolt-on stuff at this point, which makes it a little easier. A little bit easier. I got to clean up the garage a little bit so I can push this sucker back in. I got to move some of the tools out of the way. And my phone's going off. I don't care. It's my day off. I'm not even going to bother with it. I'm ignoring. I'm too busy. Alright, doors go on next. Got to round up some tools, put them away, and push this sucker back in the garage. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to address the seats. I want to do something with the windows, or at least stick some temporary windows in there. And you guys keep asking about the windows, and I've talked about it numerous times, but it's going to be glass. I'm going to have glass cut for this car. The only one that's going to be the big gotcha is the front windshield, because the front windshield actually has, and you can probably see it from that angle, it's curved. It's a 69 Beetle windshield frame that I chopped down to make it match a 56 Beetle dimensions. The only thing is, the glass on those is not flat. So I have to use a later model flat, well, semi-flat glass and have it cut. The rest will be relatively easy. You know, they just cut a flat piece of glass to go in there, and the oval stock. I did not want to alter the oval in any way, because that would detract from the appearance of the car. You know, when you're behind the car, I want you to look at it and scratch your head wondering why it looks like an original oval, but why it looks weird at the same time. And I think I've been pretty successful in getting it that way. Okay, if you like my car and you like my project, please like, comment, subscribe, pluck that little dingle belly down there next to the subscribe button. You get updates every time I upload a new video. Don't forget to check out Duckman Cycles of VW Garage on the Facebook. That's my group page. We'll discuss this project as well as some others, and anything else that you want to share. You definitely want to be over there. We got some 440, 450, something like that people right now that are currently on there and highly active. I mean, the place is always receiving posts. I can't keep up with them sometimes, so I do ask that you join the channel and try to help answer some of the people's questions. And if you can't answer any of the questions, maybe you can ask some. You know, whatever it is that you're working on, people probably can answer some of the stuff for you. If I don't get around to it, for sure. I'm having trouble keeping up with it at this point. It's gotten that big. But I still read everything. I still try to go through all the posts that are on there. And, well, you know, part of my job is moderating too. But yeah, if it continues to get bigger, I might have to hire a second moderator. Check out them brakes in there. Look at that. Oh man, A-Bomb really did some magic. Really did some magic. Oh, another thing. Check out the front wheel spacing. Too much tuck. I was telling everybody it was going to be that way. And the tires currently hit the inside of the headlight buckets when I lower it anyway, so I don't need that much wheel tuck. I'm definitely going to push them out. And I had approximately a 1-inch spacer on it before, but I think they're going to need a little bit more than that. Yeah, they're probably going to need a little bit more than that. I'm thinking maybe 1.5 inches. I'm going to have to get some super long lug studs for that and make that happen, just like I did in the rear. The rear only needed 1 inch because the rear suspension actually was pushed out because it's all 944 parts. But in the front, it's mostly Beetle suspension parts. And the hubs, I believe, probably push the wheels out a little bit. But because these fenders are just so much wider, yeah, I think these fenders are 3 inches wider than stock. So I need to widen the front suspension 3 inches on each side. Currently, I think it's I think that hub pushed it out maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna need about another 1.5 inches. That's what I'm thinking. It probably won't be 2 inches. 2 inches would just be stupid. That's too much. All right, looking good, looking good. Let's start rounding some stuff up. Thanks for watching. Well, looking down inside of here, some of my ugly little mistakes are showing up, and stuff I didn't usually talk about before, stuff I was hiding. But when I put this car together from pieces, and I started rebuilding this area back here, where the rear wings go down, you can see the bolt hole kind of in there. Yeah, there's no alignment. The hole is much further back than the wing is. And that's a mistake I made on a lot of these whenever I fixed them. For some reason, I always bring this too far forward. You know, I don't usually show my mistakes on YouTube, but there's one that I did. I may have to take a Dremel and elongate the hole a little bit, or I might be able to get in here with just a hammer and bend it, because the whole contour of this is wrong. It's actually bent kind of upwards towards me. The other side looks a little straighter, but once again, this is my area of mistakes, and the good thing is that this is under the back seat, so no matter what I have to do to fix it, you're never going to see it. All this stuff in here is all my mounting hardware for my seats. You can see I started to put some of the bolts here on the floor to see how everything would work out, and it looks like I'm going to need some longer bolts. But I had a pretty good plan as to what I had going on here with some nice fat fender washers to help spread the load. I did want to go in here and put some flat bar on top of the floor instead, because this sheet metal is kind of thin, but a nice piece of flat bar, you know, it's about 6 inches long with a hole in the middle. I think that would certainly make this a whole lot stronger. And do the same thing to the underside, and maybe even weld it in. You know, that would just make it tremendously stronger. Now, the doors are on. Here she is, sitting on the ground, way too high. Sitting up way too high. Close this hood here so you can get a better look. There she is. Eleanor. Oh man. All curvy. Yeah, she's looking pretty good. Pretty good. It looks kind of weird sitting up so high, though. It looks really weird sitting up high. I mean, she's probably about... I give her about 4 inches too high in the front, and probably about 2.5, 3 in the back. Well, good thing I have adjustability, huh? And it's pretty easy to get to. We're going to demonstrate that in the next video, which will probably be tomorrow when I start getting some more work done on this thing. Seats. Seats is one of the next priorities. Going to do something with the windows and adjust the suspension height. And if I can get around to it, I might do a little more welding on the passenger's door. Those are a few of the goals that I didn't get around to, but I definitely have to put the roof rack on, and I got to get the Doodle Bastard up there. Doodle Bastard's going to the car show. Doodle Bastard is air-cooled, so air-cooled special interest. He's got his own little class. So the Doodle Bastard will be in there too, just the same. Paired up with Eleanor, I think they make a pretty good team. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.